Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Alakazam Book Corner. So guys, today I am joined by my colleague and good friend Dave Loosley.
Yes, thanks for having me in. I feel like I shouldn't be in here.
Well,
in the book area.
You should be in here. You are always welcome in here. You know that.
Yeah, in the room, maybe. No, I do mean specifically in the room. I mean, this is all about books, and I love magic books, but I don't have a huge collection. I don't buy a lot of magic books anymore. But saying that, I have very recently got back into them, and find the real sort of gems that are hidden in them.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of fun. I don't get to go down to the circle quite as much as I'd like to, but every time I do, there's always a specific book that I'd like to go in there and have a look in.
Yeah.
And my interests are growing within books. I'll probably buy books now over DVDs.
And that is part of the reason that I asked you to come in here today, is so that we could talk about a subject that I'm not overly familiar with, but I'm getting more and more into, and that I know that you have a different approach to myself, and also the fact that, like you just said there, you're getting more and more back into books, because I've seen your book collection. You have some good works in there, and also some things that I remember you saying to me once. I brought these, I've read through them, and then you'd be the first to admit, I think, that you kind of came off of it, and now you've come back on to it again, because your interest and your approach has changed over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I think as you progress as a magician, you're right. Your interests change, and a book that was on the shelf and has been on my shelf for years, that I maybe have looked at a few times years ago. You open it, and because you're sort of interested in different things in the book that maybe wouldn't have jumped out, now jump out at you, and you go, oh, do you know what? I can utilise this or utilise that in this way or that way. That's why one of the things I love about books is the fact that you can keep referring back to the same books at different times in your life, and you're gonna get different inspiration from it. There's an old Dunninger book which I have on the shelves, and that to me is almost like, the pictures in there are like Victorian style magic, pretty much. But you never see any of those crazy kind of tricks in there, because they're all so far-fetched. Like, say you were doing something which was on the table in the middle of a stage, and it was a rising card, as opposed to using a method that you might be familiar with now. You'd have some sort of crazy hookup that would go down through the table, through under the stage, to somebody under there controlling it physically. And now, because it's moved forward, you may not utilise that in the same way, but if you had a stage show and you were looking through this book, you would go, do you know what, we'd be able to get away with that, we could use that. And so at the moment, I don't have a stage show. I do cabaret, but I don't have a full, hour, 2 hour stage show. In 10 years' time, I might do, and the Dunninger book, I could go back through it and go, do you know what, I'm gonna use that now.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, we had a customer in the shop earlier on, and we were talking about books, and I said, books contain information, and that is it. I mean, I think it's very easy to pick up a book. You hear about something, you hear about a routine or effect or a move or something, and you immediately go, oh, do you know what, I've got to seek out that book. You buy it, but that's your only real drive to buy the book. Sometimes you buy the book because you want to see that routine, you want to learn that trick, you want to learn that move, whereas in actual fact, the information is there. Information, it's contained in books, and you said it yourself just a minute ago, you find like these little gems. They're there to be discovered. They are there to be discovered, and you're right, they might not jump out at you now, but your circumstance might change over the years, and you think, oh, actually, there was that trick in this book, and oh yeah, I can do that now, or tweak it, or do something with it.
Yeah, and that is a book that I still go to, on a weekly kind of basis to have a look. There's a couple. One of the Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic. Yeah, I just think there's just so many great ideas in there. It's very easy when you've been doing magic for a while to dismiss it and think it's a beginner's book, but actually, what justifies beginners. You'd be doing a beginner trick, but present it in a more professional way, and then it becomes a working piece. So I will always refer back through that, and again the Dungeon book. And in that book, there's a very old trick where the rope goes across the stage, and then he takes a billiard ball and he balances it on the rope, and then that way it just looks like it's floating on there. The setup was probably not practical, but having looked at that and today and the sort of knowledge that I've got now, I've got an idea. I really want to do that trick, and I spoke to you about taking old principles and sort of bring them back up to date a little bit. And I have an idea and hook up in my mind where you could walk onto a stage and literally the spectators set it up for you, so you never really touch anything, and it happens. And that all comes with, I probably wouldn't have had that idea in my mind of the rope and the ball if it wasn't for looking through the book. Okay, the method that he's got is different to the one that I'm using, but it all sparks from the end result, where you're going to head to and end up at.
Yeah, and you're a great one for making connections, and when you see something and you do it quite regularly, you'll come in and go, do you know what, I saw this and I think I could tweak that and make it like that. And this is the sort of inspiration that you get from old books, or from books that you might not necessarily think, oh, do you know, I'm gonna look at that. Another book that you cite all the time is the Tarbell course, the big thick Tarbell course, the complete one. Because we know there's tons of stuff in there, but there's tons of stuff in there that lots of people aren't aware of or wouldn't look at necessarily.
Well, if you're familiar with the paper balls overhead routine I now do, and that's one. It's
great, by the way. If you're not, right, you should check it out.
Bless you, mate. And that is something that I absolutely love performing. And one of those things where if I do it at a convention or what have you, people will always come up and mention that, and that stemmed from looking through the Tarbell book, because there was a torn and restored sucker napkin routine in there, and I loved it, but there was too much going on. And so this is what you do. You read through it, you see if it's for you, and then you take elements that you like and you progress with it. And that's what I did. And I went down the route of paper balls overhead, and now it's a routine which is, I'm glad to say it's mine, and I get a lot of mileage out of just a couple of napkins. And it's become one of those things when you travel that you can just grab some napkins. It packs so small, and yet it plays massive on stage. And that Tarbell book was kind of starting inspiration point for that. And if you look through my one, it has got hundreds of bits of post-it notes which have been cut and stuck in different places in the book with just notes on them for ideas. And that book is still for me it's like a Bible of creativity, because it's cliche, but we do stand on the shoulder of giants, and it's very rare these days that something completely 100% new is created. It always stems back to something. And I think if you can go back to the old books and really kind of look at it in now a modern way, life has changed since that book's come out, and other things that maybe weren't accessible then are now and can apply to a trick in that book. Yeah,
and you've only got to also check out the work of like Dan Harlan, who's been doing the sections on Penguin of the Tarbell books. I watched a trailer for one recently which was on wand magic, and you kind of think to yourself, well, there can't be that many tricks, but seeing in the trailer he's got loads of them, but he's updated them to not necessarily use wands, to maybe use like straws or pencils or something like that. So it's just about taking that element and maybe putting a little twist on it that brings it more to modern day than what it would have been back when it was written. So one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about, because when me and Dave first started working together and we were introduced to each other, one of the things that struck me is, and still strikes me, is your approach to performance. I will be the first to admit, and Dave knows this, that I don't necessarily script stuff. I don't necessarily approach it from a performing point of view. I tend to go into like automatic mode, and I think,
which is great, by the way. Don't underestimate that. it is great. Your performance mode is. You get a lot of free jokes from the way that you present stuff, and I'm all about that as well. And I love watching you perform. Is and you won't mind me saying this, is a complete different world to watching you demonstrate something.
Yeah.
You just become this, like, I don't know. You have to see him. He's at Houdini's. Go and watch him. But yeah, it's, you know, this hasn't become, you know, telling each
it's
other
like
how
a
good we
bromance.
are.
It's a
But,
bromance. That's what it is.
But it does stem. You know, everyone's performance style is very, very different, and is finding your own, which you know.
But what I wanted to allude to is the fact that you introduced me to, because I was going through the stage where I wanted to do more stand-up magic. I wanted to do more sort of parlour magic, more stand-up magic, and even try and improve some of the close-up stuff that I was doing. I looked at books, or I have books like Strong Magic and Designing Miracles, which is some of my favourite on performing magic, but mainly for close-up. And we were talking, and you said, "Do you own Maximum Entertainment?" And I didn't. So I thought, do you know what? You know, I should seriously pay this a bit of attention. And I did, and immediately was hooked. And I know it's one that we always, well, I know definitely you've cited it a lot, and I tend to cite now if anybody asks me the question about, you know, approaching sort of performing to larger audience and stuff.
It just picks up on so many points that you wouldn't necessarily think are important points, but they are. It's all the little things that make the big thing, the big picture at the end, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there is that different world between being able to perform, show a magic trick and perform a magic trick.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot more stand-up now. You know, it's a different kind of world.
Yeah, it is, and it's something that I'm enjoying, and I'm enjoying it because I've taken someone's advice initially and brought something, in this case a book, because that's what we're talking about here, that has literally changed my approach to performing stand-up, and just understanding the dynamic. I think that's, you know, one of the strengths of Maximum Entertainment, apart from the fact that it's so well written, is the fact that it forces you to assess the dynamic that you're performing in. And you know, there's small points just about holding the microphone and walking on stage, and all these little bits that I think, even, you know, I've been performing magic since I was like 17, 18 professionally, or at least going out and performing gigs. And it's very rare that you think, oh, do you know what, this is how I'm going to walk on stage, and this is how I'm going to pick up the microphone, and this is how I'm going to address the audience. But this does literally put it in front of you and says, well, you know, you should be considering these things. You should be looking at these things because they're important. Yeah. You know.
I mean, it goes back to, like, when you meet somebody for the first time. You know, people, I think it's within the first 20 seconds that you naturally make an assumption on somebody.
Yeah.
And if that is that, you know, you walking on stage and you're up there for an hour, let's say, then you need that first 20 seconds is the most important of the whole show, really, because if an audience doesn't connect to you, then it's kind of game over.
Yeah.
And the little points of holding the microphone correctly, how you walk on and off stage, how you welcome your audience, all of those little points may seem minuscule and not important, but are very important. And I think the book just highlights so many great points. I mean, from a performing arts background, he goes into some great stuff there as well, like even how you look out when on stage, and closed open body language, all that sort of stuff is really important. But yeah, there's a ton of great books out there. That's one of them I would highly recommend if you haven't read it.
So on the back of that, because you are predominantly, well, you are a comedy performer.
I don't put it in the title just in case it doesn't get. I don't specifically write jokes. They just kind of.
But you are a comedy performer, you know, and you go for the jugular. You are literally, you know, it's sort of like this, punching people. That's what it does. It just, you will laugh.
In a jugular.
So are there any? I mean, we don't necessarily have to talk about a magic book here, but are there any other books that you feel have influenced your sort of performing style? I know that there is one book that immediately sprung to mind that you got not long after I think you came and started working for us, which was Rune's World.
Yes, that is a fantastic book. I mean, Rune Clan, if you haven't seen his stuff, then check him out. That name's amazing. It's a big green book called Rune's World by Vanishing Ink, I believe, and the whole middle section of the book are just sight gags, which are brilliant. Some of them are really far-fetched and out there, some are rude, and I think what's important is to just surround yourself by watching so many other performers and not taking their stuff, but just sort of absorbing as much as you can, because you'll soon, from that, you'll know what is you and what isn't you. And it's very easy. I mean, I see it a lot with younger magicians. They become replicas of the people that they aspire to be. I mean, the story I told you about David Williams and the young kid that did the act in the American accent. Wasn't American. It's very easy to become someone you're not. So do not look at somebody's act and take it. Never ever do that. But what you can take from that is the beats, is the way that person is, their character. Who are they on stage? And Rune's book is fantastic because he doesn't really give you much in the middle of that other than pictures of the sight gags, so you can kind of take them and apply them to you. There is another book as well. It's a yellow book with all sight gags in it.
It'll be the Pat Page book of visual comedy.
Yes, that's the one. I actually have that in the boot of my car all the time. Just if I've got 10 minutes or whatever, I'm waiting for someone, I'll just open it and have a little look through, and it's sort of little visual gags. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do all these sight gags in your show, but again, going back to what we were saying earlier, one of these sight gags might be funny back then, not so much now, but you can turn it so that it would suit you as a performer. Now suddenly you've come up with something which is now you. So I think the advice is to immerse yourself in as much as you can, as many books as you kind of can.
And listen to people as well. I mean, even though my colleague has paid me a really nice compliment, I'm not naturally funny. When I'm in performing mode, I think I can.
I don't know.
I can get away with stuff, but
like the Jack D of magic.
Miserable, yeah. But yeah, we did a show last year, and together, which was really good. We had a great time doing it, and one of the things I think struck me about the show when we were performing together, because we did two separate acts. Was the fact that even though we were getting laughs because we were individual. It wasn't that we were getting the same collective laughs. They were laughs for different reasons. Because even though we have an approach to humour, our approach to humour is different. That's I think fair enough to say. But one of the tips that you gave me was there's a lot that can be said by what you do with your face and the sort of looks that you give people and the whole sort of visual element that is around your reaction more than what you're saying. And the information that you've passed on, and you've said to me, in Maximum Entertainment he talks about like sort of beats and pauses, and this happens in here. They're great because, like I said, you kind of go into performing mode a bit, and then you think, well, actually, why didn't that work? Why didn't that laugh work? And then I'll say it to you, and you go, oh, your pause was in the wrong place, or your beat was out. And then I'll try it again at another gig, and it will get a belly laugh, like a really massive laugh. And I'll be like, do you know what? That worked. So
that, I mean, for me, I was always a class clown at school, and always, it wasn't that academic. I got what I needed to get, but I didn't excel. The only class I really excelled in was like art and drama, and I honestly, owe a lot to that. I think if you've ever, thought about maybe joining an amateur dramatics group, I think it's a definite, give it a go. You really bring out, because you could allow yourself to be someone you're not, and through that you actually find out actually I'm a little bit like that, and I quite enjoy that and get away with that. And facial expressions, I mean, I use a lot You don't need to say any words. Sometimes you can really get a lot out of the body language and facial expressions. If you watch something like Laurel and Hardy, or you watch a black and white, old slapstick, then they don't say anything. It's all in their body language and facial expressions and the sight gags that are happening. And then when you add vocals to that, now it becomes something like blimey.
Yeah. Well, you look at Johnny Thompson, the Dove Act, the amount of times in there, the facial expressions when Pam is walking on with the props, and her facial expressions as well. There is a lot to be conveyed there.
Yeah.
And when you were saying about like the drama classes and maybe taking those sort of things, that's one big thing that's advocated in Maximum Entertainment, because it is written, and it even says in the tagline, director's notes for magicians. It is written by someone that literally is there to say, right, take that out, you need to add that in, and be quite ruthless. And I think that's kind of the thing that you get by going to things like acting classes or join a speakers club, or one thing that I did is I started doing on and off, I would do open mic nights. Now you're in an environment, and this happened to me, you're in an environment where actually most of the people for the open mic night are singers, or they're playing a musical instrument, or they're reciting poetry. So you go on and you're doing like magic, and it kind of throws people a little bit, because look, why is this guy here doing magic? Because everybody else is doing this. But it's great to get out there and just get the experience. I mean, at the end of the day, it's no different to performing to any other audience. Not getting paid for it, but you are getting experience.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said earlier, immerse yourself in it. Go and see shows. Go and see performers that maybe aren't magic, but like Tape Face is one of my favourite performers. A boy with tape on his face. He was over in the UK and worked a lot of the circuit in London. And Europe, but is now got big from America's Got Talent, known as Tape Face, and is now in Vegas. But he doesn't say one word in the show. He has tape over his mouth. He has like black eye makeup on, and that's kind of it. His whole show is pervaded through body language and through facial expressions, and it is a lesson in how to do it, and what the amount of laughs you can get from a simple like all of that sort of stuff, and it's got to suit you as a performer, and it's really important that you don't. It's very easy that people use facial expressions to put down the person that's helping them. That's not what it's about. You can get laughs in different ways. The books that we've recommended, the whole go and see shows, immerse yourself in performing arts. I really want to get along and go to the Fringe Festival. I think that's just the perfect place where you can go and watch stuff that isn't necessarily magic but can give you that inspiration. Yeah, but
there are generally lots of things that happen locally in your area that you can go and watch. Some of it's free, some of it's you have to pay for. But just go in, like Dave said, immerse yourself and go and watch these people, watch other performers. Not necessarily funny performers, because with all great humour comes drama as well. You have this tension and this relaxation, which is essentially the setup for a joke and the release. So if you're going to watch people that are maybe a dramatic performance, that may also help you to know how to set up if you're planning a joke.
And it's always good. My show is, I suppose, comedy, but I'll always put at the end a serious thing. Like now I've started to put in like a throwback to older magic, so like cups and balls, and that'll be more of a serious thing at the end, just before the final climax. So it'll be the what's the word? The one just before the end. So I'll do that, and then right at the very end I'll bring it back with a comedy moment and bring it all full circle. But I think it's nice because it shows a little. It kind of has these different levels to it.
Yeah, and it gives texture, and actually that's a really valid point what you were saying there. That and again something that's alluded to in Maximum Entertainment is that despite all of the things that you're doing presentationally, especially if you're doing in comedy, is that you still got to keep focus on the magic you're performing as well, and that is something that is difficult to get in balance. And I've seen you do numerous occasions really, really well. Is that you've got the comedy, people are laughing, but they don't lose sight of the fact that something wondrous is happening with the magic as well. Right. So and they're the sort of things that you get out of performing experience and out of listening to what other people are saying. you know, in written word, or if you're watching on a DVD or whatever. But certainly check out Maximum Entertainment, because it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And don't think, oh, I'm never gonna use this. I'm never going to be performing in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
No, it can help you even just close up.
It can help you in close up, you know, or in slightly larger groups, etc. So, Dave, thank you so much for joining me here, mate.
You're welcome, man.
It's been fun. I'm going to get you back on for another one, but I'm not going to. It'll be like a surprise one. It'll be like, let's talk about Erdnase.
Yeah. It's all about kids magic.
Kids magic. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever done children's entertainment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I think we all have, haven't we?
Yeah, because you know we do have viewers who are children's entertainers. I think I was a children's entertainer for about 2 years, and
2 minutes.
No longer am. So anyway, yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
You're very welcome. So guys, thank you for joining us again on this week's Alakazam Book Corner. Hope to see you again soon. If you have any questions about any books, or you are just sort of thinking, oh, how do I approach this particular subject, or is there any books that are recommended, then by all means drop us an email or give us a call in the office. If I can't answer the question, then you know, Dave, Peter, and any of the other resources that we have should be able to help out answering the question for you. So once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming again, James.
Jane.
Jane. He's just, thank you for coming again, Dave. There we go, got it right.
No worries.
And we will catch you again very soon.